Hello. Hello, everyone's coming in at the same time. So, good morning, everyone. Or for some of you, it may be afternoon. I choose to know.
Morning.
Good morning. Come on in. Come on in. Hello. Okay, so some of you I've seen your faces before. And so, hello. It is so nice to see you again. And some of you, this is the first time you've been here. I imagine some of you were invited, and some of you have been, we've been chatting inside of the human garage. And as each one of you are coming in, I'm so glad that you're all here. Some of us are eating, Julie. And it's okay. Give a few more minutes as everybody's coming in. And I would love to see your faces if you are available. If you're driving, I understand. But since we're talking about body language, it's just really amazing if we can see one another. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Okay. Give just a few more minutes. Gave myself extra time this morning. So I imagine sometimes we require that. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Okay, as we're all coming in, let's take a moment to sync up so that we draw our energy in. So right hand on bottom, left hand on top. I know some of you, there may be some people here that I believe there's a few people that are not in the human garage that were invited. So right hand on bottom, your left hand is on top, and you're going to go ahead and twist to the left because I know we mirror each other. So twist to the left and look to the right. Draw your belly button in. When you draw your belly button into your spine, y'all, this is your will. Engage your will. Draw your belly button into your spine. Look to your right and 3 breaths through your mouth. Inhale and exhale. And again. Now 3 breaths through your nose. Inhaling. One last breath. Coming right back into center. Awesome. As we maneuver ourselves to the left side of our body is the act of receiving. And so I love that that's part of what we're waking up this morning as we come into a receiving moment. My name is Carrie Mushaw. So some of you know my cousin Deidre Freer. So, and for those of you who don't know, Deidre is my cousin. And teacher's my cousin, and I am also her coach. And so we have practiced body language translations together and walked through this. So as we begin this morning, I'm going to take a moment to share with you where I began and how I got here. And then we'll talk more about body language. So this journey for me, I began in, well, let's just go ahead. I owned a yoga studio for 9 years, and I have had in the past, I've had what the world calls epilepsy, seizures. And so I was on a journey most of my life so far to discover why they were happening, with a big belief that they were not going to be here forever. But that, and in opening a yoga studio, I opened a yoga studio, had every modality known to man accessible. So anybody, when you own a studio, like everybody comes in with all the different things, the chakra clearings, I've tapped into all kinds of different energy, crystal bowl, everything. And all of them have great things, and yet still was yet to be able to move myself through and discover why I was having seizures. The doctors said that they were juvenile. So my big joke when I was in my 40s was like, hey, so when do I grow up? And I was like, and yet what I began to understand is that our subconscious works the age of a 3-year-old. So if a 3-year-old is actually running my life based off of patterns, my 3-year-old's in charge. My 3-year-old self is doing everything. Yes, Phyllis is laughing. Yes, it's hilarious, right? The 3-year-old is driving your entire life. And so I wasn't going to get a real understanding until I really understood what I was believing. But after moving from the studio, right at the reason I moved from the studio was because my friend of mine invited me to go to a 1-day event. She was like, this is body language. They're talking into unconscious words, things we're saying. It's totally different than anything you've done. And she was one of my yoga friends, and she'd been doing it for years. I trusted her. So I just said, okay, I'm going to go. When I got there, what I noticed is, first of all, we sit in a circle, which is an interesting learning environment as well, because you're all engaged with one another at that time. And what I watched is my coach ask questions, and people would answer these questions. And then in the exact words they were using, she heard something and was able to get a new question. And then all of a sudden, these people were having aha moments, and they were moving and they were shifting in their seats. Like you watched their body change as they're sitting there. And I was like, wow, not really sure what this is. Just like Gary always says, like, you don't know exactly everything. You may not require knowing all the education. But I just knew there was something that lit me up in this room until I was coming back. And so I came back to a 9-day retreat. And I did have an eye reading before that as well. And what I began to discover was the pattern that was underneath of my seizures. And I didn't understand it even in the 9 days. I just knew that every day of my life, I slept for 2 hours just to get by. Like at the very minimum, it was a 2-hour nap. I had 3 children. I still have 3 children. But I had a really young child at the time. And 3 children. My mother had ascended unexpectedly, and I am an only child. And so it really took life out of me. And I was trying to figure out how I was going to keep going, even though I was at this time, I'm 9 years down the road, and yet I'm still trying to keep going. But every day, 2 hours had to be scheduled. I woke up in the morning, and the first thing I said was, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. When do I get to go back to sleep? And I would schedule my day around trying to get a nap. Like, I've got to have this. I've got to have this. And when I got up, it was like I was drugged from my nap. I was still so tired every day. And after 9 days of my first retreat, we uncovered a pattern of me leaving my body because I didn't believe I could stay. What was I tired of? Because my coach said to me, what are you tired of? You keep saying you're tired. What is it you're tired of? I'm like, I'm tired of feeling this way. I'm tired of dragging. I'm tired of just barely getting by. And she continued to coach me on the fact that what I was doing was I was leaving my body because I didn't believe that I could stay. Like I was just hurrying because the sleep is actually another way of checking out for me. And this is what I was doing. So after 9 days of being coached, all of a sudden, the next thing I knew, I came home and the 2 hour naps had dissipated. I had all this energy. Okay, y'all. So I had done a lot of energy work. So I started saying, okay, this is probably like an energy high. Like I'm gonna roll down off of this in a couple of days and I'm gonna go back into life and excuse me, shit's gonna suck again. And then, but then what I got was, no, that didn't happen. It didn't happen because I had shifted and I continued to say decrees, which is what we use to reprogram our subconscious mind. Some people know mantras. We use decrees because it's spiritual law. And in repetition over and over again, I give myself permission to stay. My love stays. I stay for me. I stay for me. The repetition began creating a new neural pathway is what already happened. It was already happening. And so for 2 hours every day now, when I used to go to sleep, I'm awake. And when I wake up in the morning, I'm waking up with, I choose love. It's the first words I'm hearing. I choose love. I choose love. I choose love. I'm like, wow, okay, I'm here for love. And so when that happened to me, I was like, once again, whatever this is phenomenal. I still don't fully understand. Like, I mean, yet to fully understand all of it. All I know is I'm repeating, new things are happening. It feels miraculous. My life is changing. I'm with my family. I'm more present. So I'm like, I'm in. I'm all the way in. Like, let's just keep going. So I went back to be a coach. And within 2 weeks, I went right back in and I was like, and I was there to learn to be a coach because I knew people ask why you do what you do. I coach for me. I'm going to say that again. I coach for me. I'm going to say it one more time. I coach for me. And the reason why is because every time I support someone else, every word that I say, I keep 60% of everything I say. So heck yes, I'm going to sit there. Can't cancel that. Heavens yes, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to coach somebody because it's for me. So that was my way of jumping right back in. So I began to coach, and my coach, she kept inviting us anytime she learned something new, she'd invite us back in. And I love that because my coach learned from Robert Tennyson Stevens. I choose to speak into this gentleman because I give him praise for what he's gone before me and done. He created a book called Conscious Language. And I mean, way back in the 60s. Like this book is old. But when he was doing his thesis, they asked him to do it over an Indian tribe. And he said, okay, I'm going to do the Hopi Indian tribe. And his professor said, well, that's great, but you know everything about them. So how about you do something about their language? And he said, okay. So he jumped in, and what he began to understand was they didn't have stress. He was watching them. There's no stress. But what were they saying? Well, the words can't weren't there, never wasn't there, always wasn't there. Future wasn't there because they were so much in the now that they didn't even speak about the future. There wasn't the words not. There was so many words he started realizing they're not even saying these things, and we're walking around on the universal globe using these words, and yes, we're having a different experience. So he started documenting this, and then he started teaching people about their words. Then all of a sudden he's down the road and he begins to watch as he starts to share with people about words. He starts watching and they all seem to shift the same way. He starts talking about will, and it takes great will to really stay in change. And all of a sudden people are clearing their throats. And he's like, wait a second, what's that? Well, when we engage our will, people will start clearing their throats.
Mm.
And then when people were really starting to lean in, all of a sudden they're rubbing the top of their thighs and they're rubbing forward towards their knees. And they're leaning in. He's like, oh, wait, they're moving forward. Then all of a sudden he starts looking, and all of a sudden he's talking about choice and how we all have choice in our lives. We have choice. You chose to get up this morning. You chose to be on this call. We often believe we have no choice. I have no choice. I'm stuck here. I'm stuck in this body. I have no choice. And yes, you do. We have choice. And when he started sharing with people that we actually have choice and we are making choices, we're just not acknowledging them. And how do we do that? By, instead of saying, I want to go to the store, simply saying, I choose to. I choose to get up. I choose to brush my teeth. I choose to show up for this call. And as he's saying it, he looks over and people all start rubbing their temples. And he's like, oh my gosh. So when people are starting to choose, they start to rub their temples. This is amazing. So he spends the next 10 years documenting all of that, which brings the book Sacred Body Language. So my coach, Faith Boss, who is in faith and wellness in an organic farm in Waller, Texas, she trained with him side by side. And so she began doing her own training, and that is where I received my training. Now, the miraculous part about Faith is that Faith came into this because she fell off of a horse and totally messed up her neck and her back, and was so uncomfortable driving to her health food store every day for her job, because she ran a health food store, that she was in such tremendous pain in her body that she had to figure out what to do. And while she figured out the word code and coached and all of that, she also realized that this was moving her, that there was something else. Her body was still holding on. And we do body electronics, which actually supports us in releasing, but she still is like, there's more in my body. So she traveled to Arizona to John Barnes, and he does unwinding. If you're unfamiliar, he does unwinding in myofascial tissue. And this is what she began learning. This is the part where my training is different, because she brought back to us myofascial tissue release. It's talking about the tissues towards trauma and how we release it without the grind and the real intense stuff, just the gentle hands in gentle places to allow the fascia to unwind. And she invited us during COVID to come and be with her. And that is when I was on the table. And the days prior to, I knew something big was happening for me. I just didn't know what it was. And I kept telling myself, I give myself permission to let go, because whatever was about to happen to me was going to be miraculous. It didn't matter what it was. I just knew something big was happening, and I just choosing to let go. But right before I got onto the table and it was my turn to experience MFR, I looked at her and I said, my seizures will dissipate when I get off this table. And she thought I was, and listen, this is a God vigilant woman. She was looking at me. She said, Carrie, doesn't really work that way, honey. And I said, you can't just say that. And I said, no, I'm telling you, God's telling me, and this is what's happening. And she was like, all right, we go. And when I got up, I knew that my seizures were over. It's been 3 years seizure and medication free. And that day, I put everything down, medication and everything. It was a signal that I had, and it's when we trust in ourselves. It's not if I've done it in the past out of frustration, I'm not taking this medicine. It didn't work. When I got my signal and I moved from that. But when Deidre came to me about the human garage, and I understood unwinding so well, and I understood fascial tissue and trauma and all of it. I've had seizures for 32 years. My body has held on to 32 years of seizures. And so while I've moved from having them, you still understand that there's past trauma of what the seizure in my body. So I'm only on day 15 here, folks. And I'm here to tell you that I knew instantly when Deidre introduced this to me and I started doing it, I was like, this is unwinding. The fascial tissue is unwinding. This is what we're doing here. And we're giving it to ourselves. And I did have unwinding exercises and things that I did do that I learned as well. I have found great power in this, in what the human garage is doing. So I was like, yes, okay, D, I led you, now you lead me. Let's go. And so here I am. And one of the things Deidre expressed to me is people, she said, people keep asking about body language because you keep talking about it. So people keep asking about it. And so I said, okay, well, then let's do a couple things where I jump on and then I can explain to people and share, and then they can jump in as well so that we can have this experience. So the one thing that I always request in this is that you find yourself still, because in this moment I'm requesting that everyone vote victory, because when we vote victory, you may have heard people say good luck. We don't do, I don't, I believe in a higher power. Do I believe that luck made the sun rise and the moon? No. So I believe in victory. And so when we vote each other's victory, we stay fully focused, because this is a sacred container. And in this sacred container, there is great shares, great movements. And what I have experienced myself is that when we vote victory, and if you're not yet to understand that, just send love to anyone who's speaking. Because when we send love, what happens is we tune in as well. Because when a group of people are together, the movement is for everyone. It's not for one person, it's for everyone. And we all get it, which is why Gary talks about syncing up. He speaks about this in community, it very much so. And when we all show up, we show up for ourselves, and we experience even when someone else is talking. So if you are in agreement with voting victory for yourself and everyone on this call, will you please just raise your hand? All right. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So before I open the floor up, I'm still going to speak just a little bit about, which I've shared some of the body language and some of the things that I'm aware of. And speaking of how body symptoms really show up for us, because we speak about, and when you speak, I don't speak about disease, because that's dis-ease, and it's a lack of ease. But I don't speak into a terminology that a doctor gives you, because I speak into symptoms. Because the symptoms, when we speak about the symptoms, we'll begin to speak about how you feel. That's when we're really going to get to the root of what is actually acting for you, because it's how you feel that's going to bring it all about. Because we've experienced medical terminologies, and we'll find ourselves tagging ourselves with these things, and it'll keep us in all of that, instead of how is it affecting you? What is happening for you? What is actually going on? Because for me, because for everyone, seizures are, if somebody experienced seizures, they're very different for every person. But for me, mine activated every single time there was, I believed, a lot of stress, things that I believed I couldn't hear. And that could be things like 3 kids going in 3 different directions to 3 different activities, and my beloved out of town, and cooking dinner and doing laundry. Sounds very mild. And yet it's my interpretation of it, and it's how I felt about it. It felt enormous to me. And so if it started coming in, that's when I would experience. But that's the things that, how I felt, and then how I felt about what was happening. You heard the code of I'm so tired. And so being able to speak into what we're actually experiencing in our symptoms, that's what's going to give us glory. And I always tell everybody, you say exactly how you feel, because that's where it is. That's where we just start to discover all the code and what's going on, and why you're having these experiences. because our body will manifest things when we squash them down long. When we squash them down long. Oh, that's not it. It's okay. I took an aspirin or whatever, it's okay. We try to, oh, I don't have time for that now, whatever it is. Or if you bypassed, you jumped over something. When we try to step over how we feel for so long, eventually your body goes, hey, I'm going to give you a bigger signal. And I laugh because I've had people go, well, I just had, that removed. And so now it's good. Like I took my ACL out and now I'm good. Really? Awesome. How's that working for you? That's tissue. Like the tissue has a memory. You took it out. You took your memory out. Is that even possible? No, it's not possible. Because what happens is then it jumps to another part of your body. Something else shows up. You hear Gary tell the story is my back went out once. Then years later, it went out twice. Then it went out 3 times. Then the next thing I know, it just kept happening. Yes, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until we get the message. So we have a choice. We can make things big or we can start catching on. And that's what I love is that when we start waking these things up inside of us and a greater understanding, then we'll start speeding that up. And we do something, even stub our toe and break our toenail, and suddenly we have a bruise and we begin to understand, oh, wait, there's something in this for me. I remember feeling bruised when I was moving forward in my will, and it almost took me out. I stumbled. I remember that. But now I have a different choice because things happen as a reminder that, oh, hey, we recognize this because our bodies do not understand the difference between time and space. When your body gets a feeling, it's like, hey, I'm in that memory back there. Not consciously, but your body just goes, boom, I know this feeling and I know what we do. We run, or we go to sleep, or we get really busy at work, or we whatever, or we watch TV, or we read a book, or my favorite is I meditate for a couple hours because that's such a conscious thing that I'm going to do that instead. We can take anything and use it in a different way. That's what I've learned. And so just waking up, and the more we wake up and we're more willing, the faster we'll speed this whole process up. And now like I can see things faster and faster and faster and faster. They no longer have to take me out of life. They actually expand my life. And so that's what I'm here for, is for these great things and being able to share. So, okay, let's go ahead and I'm going to open up the floor. And what I'm going to do is if anybody chooses to share an experience that's happening in their body, I am willing. And so I saw Sandra's hand up first. So Sandra, if you'll go ahead and unmute yourself.
Um, I just curious because I've spent much of my life kind of stuffing things down because, I was a single parent for the time my daughter was 3.5. And I have trouble identifying my feelings. Right. I've ignored them for so long, or just kind of, whatever's going on. I don't have time to deal with this. So, I mean, there's so much talk about, okay, so you've got to identify feelings, you've got to embrace your feelings, you've got to recognize where they're coming from, and then it won't hold into your body. So how the frick am I supposed to do that?
I hear you. Awesome. So, one of the phrases that you said is I have ignored them. And so, will you say that for me again?
I have ignored them.
Say that again.
I have ignored them.
Say that again.
I have ignored them.
It's okay. Say it again.
I have ignored them.
Say that again.
I have ignored them.
Okay. And what's coming up for you right now? How are you feeling?
I think it's sadness.
Okay. So, And who taught you to ignore them?
Well, I was married to a very abusive man, and I
Okay,
couldn't
so
express I couldn't express my feelings, because if I actually expressed what I felt, then he would flip out even more. Um, but we moved a lot when I was a kid, and so I was always a new kid in school. So it's kind of like you're um making sure you don't be too much of anything to to be accepted. But I'm not sure who actually taught me to ignore my feelings. I mean, Gary tells me I'm a Capricorn, and so I finally asked him because he talked about my emotions, and oh yeah, well, you're just a Capricorn. And I said, I don't understand what you're saying. Like, what does that mean? And he finally said to me, he says, well, as a Capricorn, you tend to move through your emotions. It's like when you drive through a neighborhood, you just drive right through the neighborhood. And that made sense to me. So,
yes, and there's a reason why. So, because you agreed to enter the world as a Capricorn. So there's some agreement there in that. And so one of the things you said was, first of all, you came in with I think, which is a very mental statement. And so when we come in
I'm
with a
mental.
it's a very mental
I'm
statement.
I'm an overthinker.
Yeah,
overthink
yeah,
everything.
I hear that. I got that. I got that loud and clear. So, but the moment what happened is the moment that you started to feel sad, you went right into I think. So it was the moment, it was like, think it could be sad, but and it's where thinking has taken you out of your feeling world.
Mm,
And you learned when you were young that you were trying really hard not to be too much. And it could be too, did you believe that it could be too much to express how you felt? Yes or no?
um, yes and no. Like with my
No such
family,
thing.
well, I would be if I mean, I remember my mom telling me, she says, when you're happy, everyone's happy around you. And when you're sad or upset, then, you know, like I had the ability to bring people with me. But I mean, I don't remember really holding my feelings back at home, but outside in schools and with um because I was always the new kid. So it was kind of trying to fit in.
Okay. So what we're aware of, so when we say yes or no, here's the thing is our subconscious doesn't understand that because your subconscious is working like a computer system, like a software system. And in a software program, there's only ones and twos. There's yeses and nos. There's no maybes. There's no a little
Mm,
bit of this and a little bit of this. So if you have any yes, it's a yes. And that much
okay.
delay, anyway, I already do. It's like there's when there's that much delay, like I gotta think about if I'm too much or not. That means yes. That means you clearly agree. And you came in saying that you believe that you were too much. And then you have your mother show up and she verifies that to you. You're too much because if you go this way, we go that way. If you go this way, we go that way. So did you learn at an early age that your emotions affect everyone? Yes or no?
I guess yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna empower you to do your very best for your yes and your no's because your guessing is gonna keep you guessing in life. I guess I know what's going on with my body. Maybe I itch on my right side. I'm not really sure. So it'll be truly to be able to come in with yeses and nos is going to create clarity for you. So because if you learned at an early age, my emotions affect everyone. So did that feel like does that feel like a lot of work to you? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, there you go. And so did you learn right then that you should just shut that down? Yes or no?
Yes.
Because your heart knows the answer. And yes, and so you learned at an early age to shut all of your feelings down, because did that keep you safe? That's
Yes.
a yes. That's a yes. And it's a belief. You may go, oh, well, I still, because you brought in your former husband. And so you may have believed, well, I don't know how safe I was. And yet it's a belief. Like, if I'm quiet, if I keep my feelings to myself, then I don't affect anybody.
But I'm not quiet.
You know, it, I hear you. One of the things you said is you've ignored them. If you've
Yes.
ignored how you feel and you hadn't expressed how you feel, you didn't express it in school and you didn't express it with your former husband. And so if we have any space where we're not able to express ourselves, then we'll close it down. Our feeling world doesn't understand, like, we love to do this. I'm gonna put it in different categories. I'm gonna be myself at work, and or I'm gonna be closed down at work, I'm gonna be myself at home, and then it doesn't work that way. Your feeling world doesn't understand that. It's not categorized. It's like, we're affecting other people, and we've been told this by so many people, and that's your belief coming really loud for you. So you learn early on, let's just shut that down. Let's shut that down. And so, Sandra, what did it cost you to shut your feelings down in life?
Injuries, pain, broken bones, accidents. My body trying to tell me that something needed to change and I ignored it.
So, would you say that it didn't work, shutting down your feelings?
Oh, 100%.
Yes. And so, for all of those times in which you left your feelings, is it time for you to fully return to how you feel?
Yes,
Yes. So say, I feel.
I feel.
Say it again.
I feel.
Say, I give myself permission to feel.
I give myself permission to feel.
Say it again.
I give myself permission to feel.
Take your hand for me and place it right on your chest.
My right hand?
Everybody lean in. Yes, Sandra, take your hand, put it on your chest. Take a big breath. Say, I remember. Now keep your eyes open. Everybody keep your eyes open, because keeping our eyes closed is another way we check out. So we're going to come fully in to be fully present. Woohoo. Yes. I'm aware of all the meditating we go. And if we've been gone, we're here to open our eyes and stay for any feeling, anytime, anywhere. That's the power of where we are right now. So take a big breath. Say, I remember I am secure in feeling.
I remember I am secure in feeling.
Say that again.
I remember I am secure in feeling.
Take a big breath. Say that again.
I remember I am secure in feeling.
And how do you feel when you say this?
My my body, my chest is relaxing and there's a warmth in there.
Awesome. Because that's the truth of who you are. That warm feeling inside, the tenderness, the love. It just requires, when you call on a remembering, what happens is, in our design, we have a divine blueprint. And when we call on a remembering, people are like, I don't ever remember feeling this way. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. You just buried it with your life experiences. So when we call on a remembering, we're raising it up. And if you created security around shutting down, well, then you're here for the rise. You're here to remind yourself that I do remember being secure in feeling. I do remember feeling secure in feeling. I remember. I remember. And say, I feel.
I feel.
And say it again.
I feel.
So I'm going to ask you to say, I feel slower.
I feel.
Say it again.
I feel.
That one got faster. Let's go slower.
I feel. How's
It's
that?
also more fun. Because if you had feeling was scary, then you'll be like, oh, because I'm listening to the way that you're saying it. And it was like, I've got to get past this. I feel the word feel. You listen to this recording, it goes, you were saying it like really fast. And it's just in the way you were trying to hop over it. Into your body, it's like, hey, we're not safe to do that. We're not. And I use the word safe only to express how you felt. I empower people to come into security because we've had the world of safety regulations and safety and all of the safety rules, the safety regulations, the safeguards in elementary school, the safe everything was all to keep us from getting hurt. And that's still fear of being hurt. So when we come into security, security is our foundation. Security is when we're born, we come into the world, and the first security we have is parental. And so whatever our experiences were there may be very different, but we're here to remember that we are secure, but we'll be called on to repeat it and call it home. Because Sandra, is it time for you to come home to love in your body?
Yes.
Say, I give myself permission to come home to my feelings.
I give myself permission to come home to my feelings.
And when you say that, what do you feel in your chest? Do you feel?
I feel relaxing.
Awesome. Awesome. And because I felt a little vibration. Anybody else feel a vibration over here? Yeah, okay, yeah, we got some vibration. Yeah, I felt a vibration. I was like, boom, 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 boom. And that's awesome. So being able to repeat that, that's how you come back into your feeling world. You just left it behind a long time. And it's okay, because let me tell you something, the beautiful part about that is for all of the energy that you used to stay away from your feelings, that amount of energy and more is what is going to return to you in being able to feel. And any feeling will pass through our body within 30 to 90 seconds when we just allow ourselves to feel. It's not that you have to go get in the corner. Oh my gosh, oh, this sadness going to come. I got to sit in a corner for days and just cry and cry. No, it doesn't have to be that way. When we allow ourselves to feel simply by saying, I feel. So what I empower you for the next weeks to do is this word, I think. Pay attention to how often you say it. I think this, I think that, I think this, I think that, and replace it with, I feel, I feel, I feel, I feel hungry. Instead of, I think it's time to eat, or whatever it is that you say. But being able to replace that is going to be where you empower your feeling world. Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Lori?
Thank you. So listening to Sandra, I have a little bit of that, but I wanted to speak to two issues that I have been going on in my body that have been going on for a long time that may, I say may, they probably are related, but they manifest very differently. So the first is I have lung issue where my lungs fill with mucus. And it's been going on for years, and it's gotten worse in the last few years. And I've tried to you know, doing all the modalities, doing everything kind of thing. And the words that come to mind when I'm explaining it, it's so exhausting. Because when they fill with mucus to a certain point, I have to express them and let it out. So it's the whole mechanics of it is just, it's so tiring. And the whole thing is just tiring to be dealing with. Yeah. And yeah, and it's like it's frustrating because I think I'm doing all the right things and eating well and all of that, and it's just I feel very depleted at times, and I know that I felt that way in my life, in the last few years. I don't feel that way now, but I did, so I'm probably carried it, for me forward.
So, okay, Lori, so has your life been filled with doubt?
Yeah.
So again, I'm going to ask you to go with yes or no.
Yes.
Because we use the energy of like, if I said, will you marry me? And you go, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I'm not signing up for that contract. Like, I'm out. Never mind. Cancel the whole thing.
Yeah.
So we're speaking to our hearts, and our hearts have the energy of the yes and no. And it's also where we'll take ownership of exactly what's going on with us. We're claiming. And so we require that clarity. And so if you've experienced doubt in your life, what is your first memory of doubt? First thing that comes up.
Well, it's a massive situation. I was taken from my parents when I was 4 years old and moved to live with my aunt and uncle. And I didn't know, nobody told me where I was going. So the whole thing filled me with, what the heck is this all about? What's going on? And who are these people? And why am I here? So everything from there was just doubting the people I was with, my situation, my environment, my parents. Like, I thought I had done something horribly wrong to be in this situation. So it was, doubt. I have not ever looked at my life that way, but from that word.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, and what happened next after you were taken away from your family and you didn't know what was happening?
So my brother and we lived there for a couple of years.
Mhm.
And while my mom and dad were separating and divorcing, and I was in this family dynamic, and it was very strange because I was told to that they were now my mommy and daddy, and that you know I was going to live in this life with them, not telling me when I might be going back or how long I was going to be there. So it was just very strange, full of secrets and full of doubt. Right? And yeah.
So did you learn at that moment to doubt life?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so that's a moment of that's early on, you automatically learn doubt. And so do you know what the opposite of doubt is?
Don't know if I do. Doubt.
Awesome.
Trust.
Yeah. Yes. The opposite of doubt is trust. And mucus shows up in the form of doubt. Your lungs represent life, breathing, taking in life. And if you didn't know what was going to happen, what you did is at an early age, you learned it wasn't really safe to take in life. You weren't really sure what was going to happen. So you developed a big doubt for life. And so it's for the thing that I love about this great understanding is our greatest weakness shall be our greatest strength. So just like I had spoken before, all of that energy is to return to you, just like I told Sandra, with This one is with trust. So do you have a higher power, Lori?
Yes,
What do you call your higher power?
HS, higher self.
Higher self. I'm like, you give them initials? Okay, higher self. Awesome. So,
And God and the universe. So mostly HS and the universe.
okay, so the phrase that I use for higher self is I always call it our great self. We call it our great self. And I talk about your little self is the one that's running rapidly around all of these. What am I going to do? Because I can hear a lot of trying that you had in life. And then the trying leads to frustration because you're not able to get the answer. And then you continue with the trying. So you have this circle, and then you're trying, doesn't work, you get frustrated, you doubt what you're doing, and you go back to trying. It's a circle. You just keep living it. We call it the hamster wheel.
Oh, yes.
And awesome, because now you know. And so now you can, in fact, shift that. But that's your little self that's on that hamster wheel, because your great self believes in a higher power, a source, an energy. And so in that, we're going to call on that for bringing trust home in you. Because is it time for you to trust life again?
Yes.
Because this is a returning from where you left yourself behind. So as that young child in that moment, you left yourself behind. So this is a big return. So as you're returning, say, I remember my God trust.
I remember my God trust.
I give myself permission to feel my God trust.
I give myself permission to feel my God trust.
Say that again and slower.
I give myself permission to feel my God trust.
Say that again.
I give myself permission to feel my God trust.
Say, I remember my great self has got me.
I remember my great self has got me.
Say that again.
I remember my great self has got me.
Or how does that feel for you?
It feels good. It feels right. I've had a difficult
So
time connecting
how
with
does
God.
it feel? Because I'm going to tell you, good is not a feeling, y'all. Good is not a feeling. We're real good at that. And
Yes.
right will keep you in right or wrong. So how does it feel in your body when you say that? We're going to return. So in the meaning and trust, bringing trust home. So in being able to trust, there requires some security once again, because your security has been all catty. I mean, when you're a child and what you knew as home, that's secure. All of a sudden it gets erupted. There's security. And it's like how to feel secure. And so there's a scramble of trying to feel secure, not being able to have it.
Mm.
And then hitting a wall, getting frustrated, doubting what's happening. And here we go. So also right there as a child, your security. And because how would it have felt if your parents would have just stayed? How do you imagine that would have been for you?
Stayed together.
Stayed together, kept you in one place. How would that have been?
I guess much different. It would have been, yeah, it would have been totally different.
And do you imagine it would have felt loving?
No.
No. So staying in one place. So
Well, it would have, staying in one place would have felt loving. Yes.
yes. So that's the stay that I'm talking about. I'm
Yeah.
not here to go on to their marriage. That's another day.
Yes.
But being able to stay. And so where your parents had to leave and kind of disrupt is for you to stay. Say, I give myself permission to stay.
I give myself permission to stay.
I remember I am secure in staying in love in me.
I remember I am secure in staying in love in me.
There's the breath. There it is. Did everyone see it? There's a big breath. Say that again.
I remember staying
It's okay.
in love in me.
So I remember I am secure in staying in love in me.
I remember I am secure in staying in love in me.
There's the breath again. Yes, because there's this staying. And it's okay if the first time you don't get it, your subconscious goes, we don't say those kind of things. Forget that. And so it's just for you to come back in it.
Mm.
And staying in home in you, this is our home. And as children, we learn what home looks like. And so if home looks like disarray and home doesn't feel good, and we start doubting home, we no longer trust our body. We no longer feel secure in our body because this is our home. So we find ways to leave. And have you been spending a lot of time trying to rebuild home? Like, have you created a different life for yourself?
Yes.
And so in rebuilding that, say, I reclaim the home that I built.
I reclaim the home that I built. What's very interesting is right now I'm in a temporary home situation that's had me in the unknown for the last year and has rocked my sense of security, of course.
Awesome.
Right. So
awesome.
Yeah, in some ways it's been great because it's really propelled me forward, and in others it's terrifying to me.
But yes, because it's a memory. It's a memory. And that's what it shows up right now. There's no coincidences. It shows up right now. You end up on this call, you're right here with me, and here you got it. So that shows up to show you, to remind you of the feeling so that it's alive, so that you can claim something completely different. Because I'm speaking of this home right here, and I am aware of being on this call. I can already tell that you have created something different in life for yourself. It's been your desire. You've been doing it. But if we haven't claimed it, we still got it out here. Like, we're still working on it. I'm still trying to figure it out. I've still got all this stuff going on. Instead of claiming what you have done and creating a different life for yourself, that's the reclaiming. I reclaim the life that I built. I reclaim the home in me. So just say, I stay home in me.
I stay home in me.
So these things, when repeating them, is drawn to draw your security, because you took that big breath earlier when we spoke about being secure in home and you. And when you bring that security and you took that big breath, that's relief. That's returning to life where you left yourself behind. And all it does is we require making the call. Like, and the call is to claim what it is that I remember. I am secure home in me.
That feels much different.
Yes. Awesome. Awesome. What we're here for. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And the other thing right now, here's what I'm going to say. So I said thank you and you said thank you. So the act of receiving is, I say thank you and you say,
you're welcome.
aha. We're real good at that. I love this. So we're in a society now where somebody says, the other day I was checking out and I said, thank you. And she's like, sure thing. And I'm like, that did not land in her body. She went, sure thing. And it just like, boom, it bounced. And that's, all for where she is. But what we're remembering is that if we say, no problem, no worries, okay, we're yet to receive. When we're children, we're taught, say you're welcome. Then we get older and we start believing we're saying trendy stuff. We're not saying trendy stuff. We're actually pressing out that thank you. And so it is, when we say you're welcome, we're receiving the thank you. We are opening up. And so we're expanding our receiving. Just by that. So those are the little things that we begin. Our subconscious is really cute. It does cute little things, like small little stuff like that. That's one of the ways that we just begin to receive, is by simply saying you're welcome. You'll notice on any of the strings on the garage, somebody tells me thank you, and I respond with you're welcome. I always respond because I'm like, I'm willing to receive. I'm an opening for receiving, because when I receive, I'm going to receive my miracles. I'm going to receive my blessings. I am going to receive everything I was here to divinely receive. So just one way.
Is that the only response? Because is there any other way to say
From thank you.
thank you? Like you're welcome,
You're welcome.
my pleasure.
How about my pleasure?
Again. It's just-
Again. I mean, because you just took the your out. I mean, and so, no,
Oh, I see.
No.
You're saying you
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
welcome.
yeah.
How about it?
you are welcome. Thank you. You're receiving the thank you, and then you're returning. You're welcome. So your welcome allows the receiving to come in, and you are returning it. My pleasure, you're just staying over on your side. So
What about I'm honored?
stay with your welcome. Let's just stay with your welcome.
Yeah,
Stay with your welcome. Stay there. You may graduate and get to get into something new later on. We'll talk about graduation later. But right now, it's just you're welcome. So I'm just laughing because right now, we're trying to convince ourselves that other words are okay. Like, okay, let's use this instead. Like, let's just go with you're welcome.
Got it.
Yeah, just go with it. Let's just try it on for size, right? We're trying on new stuff. Let's try on this one, see what happens. It's an amazing feeling to be able to receive that. So, okay. Marlene. I had somebody else with a hand up before that, but I don't see him now. So go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, I've been super healthy my whole life. And in this last 3 years, I ended up, my hip just seized up, my right hip. I ended up having a hip replacement just over a year and a half ago, and which is doing amazingly well. But my left hip is starting to act up, and I feel it in my knee, and I'm thinking, oh, okay. Or I shouldn't be thinking. I need to be feeling. Yes, so whatever this is, I want to feel what it is and let it flow through me.
Okay. So you said, an interesting thing. You said my right hip seized up.
Yes.
And
I was playing women's rec hockey and I had a couple of bad falls.
you're playing what?
I play women's rec hockey, recreational hockey,
Okay.
up until COVID. So I had a couple of really bad falls. The girls coming up are younger and faster, and then I ended up a COVID hit, and I was sitting a lot on computers. So I don't know.
So where were you when it happened? It didn't happen in the falls?
No, but I noticed something was off balance when I fell. Something seemed off balance.
Well, it sure was. You were believing that the younger people
Yeah.
have an up on you. That's totally off balance. That's
Oh
totally
yeah,
off
good.
balance.
Good point. Yeah, that's a great
Because you
point.
said those younger ones there are coming in and so I mean there's totally off balance there. There's a belief that's off right there. I can tell you right now. But
That's a good point.
yeah, I mean it's our beliefs. But the interesting part was that your right hip seized up, and it seized up. When did it seize up?
Well,
you were
during COVID, I was sitting a lot on the computer. I'm a teacher, and I was sitting a lot to work with students. And so when I'd get up, it just all of a sudden my range of motion started to become limited. And I went from physio to acupuncture to massage to everything, yoga. And then I found this block therapy, which is a fascial relief, which actually really helped. And so I've been doing that for almost 2 years now, and it helped me walk. And so then I found the human garage last January, and I've been incorporating that as well.
okay. And so you have that you're sitting a lot, and what is your experience about moving forward and feeling seized?
Um, it, well, that's interesting because I love moving. I like dealing with things and getting on with life. I travel a lot. I don't have any fear of going places by myself. Um, Moving forward, the only situations I have trouble moving forward in are probably personal relationships.
Yes, and what about moving forward with a man in your life?
That's a difficult thing for me.
And that's the right hip.
It was the right hip I had replaced.
Yes. So tell me about the difficulty in moving forward in relationship with men
Well, I would
or
say
a
that
man.
started, yeah, I know that started when I was younger. My mom and dad were married for 65 years, but I remember when he was younger. My other sisters were busy doing something, but busy doing stuff. But when I was younger, apparently when I was born, I was like my mom's security blanket. So when my dad was out drinking and wouldn't come home, I would be the one sitting there with her while she cried in a room waiting for him. And I remember saying I would never be involved with someone that drank that much or did those things. And what do? I usually end up in a relationship with someone that drinks too much or cheats or lies.
Yeah, because you have the word
Yeah.
never in place. So here's the word about never.
Mhm.
Never is a vow. It's a vow, and it holds things in place. It doesn't allow for any change or anything. So when we say I'll never, it just holds all the energy in place in the moment in which you claimed it. And the moment in which you claimed it was waiting up for dad who was out drinking. So in that moment, you locked it in place, and boom, that's the energy that sits with you, is somebody that drinks, that doesn't show up. Because right now you're sitting back in your chair.
Mhm.
And most people, when they're in a movement and something glorious is going to happen, they're not going to sit back. They're normally sitting forward. So there was something that you were sitting back on. And so, because in sitting with mom, I mean, how was that experience for you, sitting with mom, waiting up for dad? How was that?
I always felt very sad for her. I felt like I was there to support her. And I was like that my whole life with my mom. You know, I was the one that went to the care home with her. I sat with her. During COVID, I'd go to the window every day and wave at her.
Yeah. So have you taken on your mother's feelings? Yes or no?
Yes.
And when you take on your mother's feelings, how do you know how you feel?
Well, I don't actually.
Yeah, exactly. So you should listen to the story that I talk about is the first time that I'm on the BE table, and my mother actually ascended. She got sick on a Friday, and she ascended the next Friday,
Hmm.
and she ended up getting a staph infection, and her spine actually crumbled and fell apart during the autopsy. It just dissipated.
Oh, wow.
And they hadn't seen anything like it because she's perfectly healthy, perfectly healthy. And here's the thing. Are you ready, Marlene?
Yes.
She had two hip replacements. So my mom was like dredging through life, like just moving and pushing through life. It was like carrying mud, and she pushed through her life. And I learned that from her. That's her hips. But then I took on all of her feelings. Anytime my mom reacted, I reacted. I went to her to ask her, what should I do about this? She'd tell me, oh, okay, that's how I felt. Okay, mom felt this way. I felt this way. Mom didn't like that. I didn't like that. Mom didn't like somebody coming home
Mhm.
drunk. I didn't like somebody coming home drunk. I did everything that mama did.
Yeah.
And so I'm on the BE table and my coach is asking me, when you're on a BE table, what happens is people hold acupuncture points and memories play in your mind like a movie. And so you just share what you're seeing. Like you're walking through and there was a memory. I was with my mom here and then she screamed and then I felt this way. Here's my mom here and then I do this way. And it goes through life. I talk about 4 different things that come up from the age of 4 to the age of like 30. And my coach says to me, Carrie, how do you feel? I'm like, I have no idea. I only know how she feels. But if somebody will just take care of her, then I'll be okay. And my coach said, did you leave yourself behind? And so I'm going to ask you, Marlene, did you leave yourself behind to take on your mother's feelings?
I suppose I did.
It's either a yes or a no.
Yeah.
With that kind of
Okay.
delay will get you at a yes.
Yes.
And that's what has you behind. Leaving
Yeah.
yourself behind, sitting back, and then really wanting to go forward. And then the moment you do, it's like, bam, that's not it. You're supposed to be in somebody else's, you're supposed to be a mom's feeling. You're supposed to be on mom's feeling. You can't move forward. Like you don't know how you feel. You only know mom. Sit back down and stay right there. It's subconscious. It's not conscious. We don't do this thing on purpose. We don't go, hey, you know what? I think I'm gonna take on my mom's feelings. I'm not gonna know how I feel. It's okay though, because did your mom care about her mom?
Yes, her mom actually lived beside us for a long time until she passed.
Exactly. And did you learn great love from your mother?
Yes, unconditional.
Yes. So there's great things that mom teaches us. But then
Mhm.
there's these things where we take on how she feels and we leave ourselves behind. And so is it time for you to return to life and feel your feelings?
Yes,
Awesome. Say, I give myself permission to feel.
I give myself permission to feel.
Say it again.
I give myself permission to feel.
Say, I stay and I move forward in my feelings.
I stay and I move forward in my feelings.
Say it again.
I stay and I move forward in my feelings.
One more time.
I stay and I move forward in my feelings.
And how do you feel when you say this?
I feel happy and enthusiastic about getting out there and enjoying life.
Yeah. Has anybody noticed that she's not sitting back anymore? I mean, your body language changes. Here's the thing about body language is our body doesn't lie. Our body tells the truth. We can say lots of things out of our mouth, but our body's going to tell us what's going on. And so like you shifted. And so that's for you just to be able to return to how you feel. It's great that you have mom because she taught you love. It's just that you took it into a codependent behavior and you relied, she was the one that everything was around her. And so now it's for you to return and own how you feel. And my feelings move me forward.
It's interesting when you say that because my mom passed away 2021 and I had a hip replacement 22 in June. But right before she passed, I got a cat to hold me back at home, I guess, or because of COVID. And normally I'm traveling, I take off and travel whenever I can on the holidays, but then I was always back there with mom. So it's like I've replaced my mother with a cat.
So that's a
that sounds
subconscious.
funny.
That's a subconscious form. That's what I'm saying. That's how tricky the subconscious is. We can't move forward. okay, let's find something that'll keep us from moving forward. I just got to stay here because now I got to know how the cat feels. How do you feel?
Yeah, well, you know, it's interesting because my
I mean,
mom
and cats are
always
great
had,
things, but
yeah,
I'm just saying.
yeah. But her purpose was to help take care of everything. And so what I remember even thinking when my mom goes, who am I going to take care of? I mean, I retired from teaching, all those little
Okay,
kids,
Marlene.
my son's growing up. So
Marlene, is it time for you to care for you?
yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Say, I care for me first.
I care for me first.
Say it again.
I care for me first.
Say, I care for me first, and everything is cared for.
I care for me first and everything is cared for.
We have where we take and we start wrapping up our lives into other people. And like this is, and I also have a great, great dear friend of mine. And she's like, taking care of other people is my love language. And I'm like, well, that's awesome, but have you leaving your body because you're talking like this? And I mean, and it is because because look, I'm here, I support other people. And as I told you at the beginning of this call, I do this for me.
Mhm.
And if I jump out of my body to go do one of these calls, well, then now I'm out of alignment, and I'm going to find
Mhm.
myself in a lot of trying, a lot of efforting, a lot of fatigue. That's how we know. If you are trying and trying and trying, you are out of alignment. Something is way out of alignment.
Mhm.
Oh, somebody said, oh my gosh, that there's a lot of people waiting to get in. Did I hear that?